The Emerald Tablets of Thoth The Atlantean. Who is Maurice Doreal? In this 5-part video series, we'll explore the personal background and history of the man who wrote and authored the book, The Emerald Tablets of Thoth The Atlantean, and learn about what motivated him to interpret and translate the tablets so that the messages contained within could be understood by all. Let's begin by reading the preface. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean, Who is Maurice Doreal, is a compilation of online sources that have been collected and gathered into a single, cohesive work for the purpose of establishing a more clear and concise history about the man known as Maurice Doreal. In our exploration of Maurice Doreal's personal history, the objective of this compilation is to better determine whether or not the existence of the Emerald Tablets is valid, whether or not they are real, or whether they are simply the fictional result of the author's imagination. Through the eyes and thinking mind of Maurice Doreal, our focus is to examine what factors may have stimulated his interest in the matter of the occult sciences and the esoteric studies of the arcane. It is through the efforts of this compilation that we are attempting to better understand what motivated Doreal in the pursuit of sacred knowledge and wisdom, that which resulted in his writing and authorship of several books, as well as his acquisition and archival of works that originated in the remote histories of antiquity. In order to dispel the myths, the controversies, and the conspiracies surrounding the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean, the goal of this compilation is to separate fact from fiction and to learn about who Maurice Doreal was and what it was he sought to accomplish over the course of his lifetime. With that said, let's move on to part 1. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean, a brief history about the author. There has been much speculation regarding the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. When we take into consideration the origin, the history, and the validity of this historical narrative, there are 3 major questions on the minds of many. The first question being, are the Emerald Tablets real? If we are to believe what we can glean from the history of M. Doreal, also known as Maurice Doreal, the author of the book entitled The Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean, then it would appear that groups of obscure, unnamed individuals belonging to the Great White Lodge, the Egyptian priesthood, the Mayan priesthood, in addition to M. Doreal himself, are the only people who could confirm whether or not the tablets are real and that they do indeed exist. This in turn leads us to our second question. Where are the Emerald Tablets located? To date, no one has been able to provide a definitive place or exact location as to where the tablets may be housed. If the Emerald Tablets do indeed exist, number 1, they are not available to the general public for viewing, and number 2, the tablets are not accessible to anyone in such a way that would allow them to confirm the existence of said tablets and to draw their own conclusions about the origin, the nature, and the purpose as to their creation. This in turn leads us to our third question. Who is M. Doreal, also known as Maurice Doreal, and what inspired him to write a book entitled The Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean? We will attempt to answer this question by referring to 2 sources of information regarding the history of M. Doreal. Let's begin with our first source. The title of our source is Maurice Doreal, and our source is wikipedia.com. Maurice Doreal, who lived between 1898 to 1963, was born Claude Doggins. He was an American occultist and founder of the Brotherhood of the White Temple. Doreal claimed that during a 1925 visit to the Great Pyramids of Giza, he discovered a set of ancient emerald tablets belonging to the Egyptian deity Thoth, whom he reimagined as a king of Atlantis. Doreal claimed to have translated the text, which he published as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth The Atlantean. In around 1930, Maurice Doreal formed the Brotherhood of the White Temple in Denver, Colorado, having been involved in theosophy. He claimed that in 1931, in Los Angeles, he met two Atlanteans who took him to a cave underneath Mount Shasta. Doreal quickly developed a cosmology focused on the inner earth, describing underground races he claimed to have learned about from the Atlanteans. Doreal developed theories of an underground serpent race. During the 1950s, Doreal incorporated aliens into his views. He combined these all into a theory that in the second half of the 20th century, the serpent race would ally with the Antichrist. He believed that there were three types of flying saucers, including one piloted by serpent people who were once icebound in Siberia, became defrosted, and then replaced and overthrew the communist regime in Russia. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, Doreal relocated the Brotherhood near Sedalia, Colorado, where he predicted that nuclear war would happen in 1953, but that he and his community would be protected by the mountains in the valley they relocated to. He died in 1963. So what can we take away from what we just read? Let's do a summary and analysis of our Wikipedia source and review key points about Doreal's personal background and history. So firstly, from our reading, we learned that Claude Dodgins, also known as Maurice Doreal or M. Doreal, lived between 1898 to 1963. He was born in 1898 and died at the age of 65 in 1963. He had an interest in the occult, the esoteric studies of theosophy, and sought to attain the sacred knowledge and wisdom of the arcane. In 1925, Claude Dodgins claimed to have visited the Great Pyramid of Giza, where he discovered a set of ancient emerald tablets belonging to the Egyptian deity Thoth. He also claimed to have translated the tablets, where he reimagined Thoth as a king of Atlantis, and subsequently published a book entitled The Emerald Tablets of Thoth The Atlantean. Claude Dodgins used the pseudonym Maurice Doreal as well as the pen name M. Doreal in the writing and authorship of his book entitled The Emerald Tablets of Thoth The Atlantean. And finally, in the early 1930s, he founded the Brotherhood of the White Temple in Denver, Colorado, for the purpose of studying ancient history and applying the knowledge and wisdom gained to one's life. As it relates to descriptions about his overall character and personality, what we've learned about Claude Dodgins is that he had a very colorful and highly active imagination, not fully rooted in reality. Further to that end, it appears that Mr. Dodgins developed a reputation for engaging in fanciful and whimsical notions of unfounded and unproven theories. Let's review some of the claims, beliefs, and theories that he promoted during his time. A chance meeting with the Atlanteans. In 1931, Claude Dodgins claimed to have met two Atlanteans in Los Angeles, where they took him to a cave beneath Mount Shasta. The underground serpent races of the inner earth. Dodgins quickly developed a cosmology focused on the inner earth, describing underground races he claimed to have learned about from the Atlanteans. He developed theories of an underground serpent race, and during the 1950s, Dodgins incorporated aliens into his views. He ultimately combined these beliefs into a theory that in the second half of the 20th century, the serpent race would ally with the Antichrist. The UFOs piloted by serpent people. Dodgins believed that there were three types of flying saucers, including one piloted by serpent people who were once icebound in Siberia, that once they became defrosted, they replaced and overthrew the communist regime in Russia. Preparing for the Holocaust of nuclear war. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, Dodgens relocated the Brotherhood near Sedalia, Colorado, where he predicted that nuclear war would happen in 1953. He felt that his community would be protected by the mountains in the valley that they relocated to. This concludes part 1 of this video series. Be sure to watch part 2 of The Emerald Tablets of Thoth The Atlantean. Who is Maurice Doreal?